Hey, Whatnots, happy Monday. It is January 22nd in the United States of America. It's What Chaos. I'm DJ. Shawn is here, and Peter is here. Hi, Peter.
I'm back, and look at this.
Oh,
we're
that's
in
nice.
a nice little fancy new studio.
Little hockey utopia. You're going to think this is a new place, but it's actually where we were before. We just took down that curtain that was behind us. If you're not watching on YouTube, you can head to YouTube, or you can keep listening where you're listening, but subscribe on YouTube. It helps us. It's a good time. But we've got this amazing window situation behind us that honestly is part of the draw of why we want to get this place as our studio. And then we did 2 months of covering it up. But it looks beautiful now. Look at that.
I know, this was like essentially the centerpiece of the studio and why we wanted to move in here. And now we are like 2 months deep into the show?
Yes.
And you finally get a glance at it. So I think it looks amazing. Hopefully everybody watching on YouTube, you like it. And yeah, I think this is a beautiful little studio that just got a little bit more beautiful.
Crazy weekend in hockey land. The Edmonton Oilers just cannot stop. They're going to make history. You've got, Shawn went to Bruins Canadiens, which is a very exciting thing. Your second Bruins game, because we went to famously a Bruins Sabres game.
Yes. Technically, his third Bruins game.
I mean, technically,
I guess like
my
100.
fourth,
Yeah,
my
that's
first
fair.
ever game as a Bruins
Okay.
game. But yeah, my second
Fair.
Bruins game at the Garden.
So you happened into a solo ticket
I did.
to Bruins Canadiens in the balcony.
Yes.
And if someone were to place odds on whether or not you would accept that ticket and go, I would say that's like minus 2,000. You're doing that every time.
Oh, yeah, especially because it was Bruins Canadiens. Like it's very rare that I get to witness a rivalry that I have like no emotional investment in. I will say I hate the Bruins. I made that very well known. But there is nothing I like more than hating, like just big hater energy, and the Bruins fans doing the Olay after embarrassing the Montreal Canadiens was fucking awesome.
I was going to say, tough game to go to if you hate the Bruins.
Yeah,
because that was the biggest party I've ever seen. If you're
I also
kind of
hate like the country of Canada, so it balances out.
Whoa, we do not stand with Shawn. We are this actually is set in the United States, and we are in America, but I consider Canada my neighbors to the north.
Oh, good for you.
I do too. I just hate my neighbors.
Yeah, that's true, right?
You don't have to like your neighbors.
I wonder if when Canadians hear Americans refer to them as like our neighbors to the north, bet they're like, shut up. Don't be condescending.
Sorry about the Buffalo Bills, Shawn.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay, fair enough. We don't have to discuss it. Yeah, big weekend in hockey. We can overlook the football stuff. Big weekend in hockey. Also, Patrick Roy back in the NHL.
We kick it off. I'm still working on how I set up the first thing, but we drop a puck in New York, where Patrick Roy is back.
It's on New York, sorry.
On New York?
I was about to do the same thing. It is, yeah. Well, it's
when you say in Long Island, everybody, it's on Long Island.
Can I
it's
just
on New York
real quick? People in Long Island, on Long Island, whatever the fuck, are crazy people. They first off pronounce Mario,
yeah.
insane, and then instead of being in line for something, they say online, which is objectively incorrect.
So that's what
you
I
are not
thought you were doing
on
when
anything.
you said, "Oh, it's on because it's on." And I was like, "Are you doing the like I'm waiting online?" Because that isn't a regional thing. That is a wrong thing.
That's insane.
It's
I've never heard that
wrong.
before. That's crazy.
It's objectively wrong.
No,
Point to me the line that you are standing on. There is
People
none.
who,
There is
like,
not one.
People who live on islands love to do people do that with a cape And I think like I'm in the Cape. No, you're on the Cape. It's so stupid to me.
I mean, I have a song about Martha's Vineyard, and the lyric is "on the vineyard." I didn't even think about that.
But you could be you could be both. You could be in the vineyard or on the vineyard.
I think I'm going to make a new song about Martha's Vineyard that just actually, you know what I'll do? I'll make like a Billy Joel-esque song about Long Island, but everything will be like in Long Island.
Yes.
And I'll say like waiting in line to do the thing, and just like Long Islanders will not like it. We're an American hockey podcast, but only like one specific area of America.
That's right.
People don't know this actually. We're a Massachusetts based
sort of.
podcast.
I feel like I've been in Chicago more than I've been in Massachusetts.
We're a Massachusetts, Chicago. Shawn has so much pride in every place he's ever been.
That's
so
True. This is also a Syracuse,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Buffalo, and Phoenix, Arizona podcast.
Exactly. We are a Syracuse hockey podcast. Go Crunch. But let's kick it off in Long Island, where Lane Lambert is gone. Some are saying Seth Jones got him fired, right?
Could be.
Seth Jones called game. Maybe we'll talk about that a little later. But Islanders lose to the Blackhawks in overtime and say, Lou Lamoriello says, okay, that's enough. This is over. Gets rid of Lane Lambert. And I had, for all intents and purposes, we're a big goalie podcast. I'd forgotten about Patrick Waugh. I did not even consider he was going to coach in the NHL again. And now he's back. They beat the Stars in their first game, and off they go. They'd fallen out of a playoff spot. Who knows? Now they're probably going to win the Stanley Cup. I was out. I forget what I was doing, but I was not on my phone at the time that all this was going down. Checked my phone, had a bajillion missed text messages. Most of them were from you, Pete, in our group text being like, holy shit, Patrick Waugh is back. I'm stunned by this, but I feel like I shouldn't be.
Yeah, so the Patrick Waugh thing where it's like I forgot that he existed. I knew that he was coaching, and I knew that he was doing super well. He was coaching in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League.
The Ramparts.
Quebec Ramparts. And had just won the Memorial Cup last year. So, like, I knew that his stock was on the rise, and his name was linked to a couple of openings. So I figured it would be at some point he'd be back in the NHL. But the fact that it's been, what, like 7 years, basically, right?
16.
Yes, like 7.5 years since he left the NHL after a pretty successful coaching stint in Colorado. Like, it was like what's it going to take? Who's he going to have to convince to get back into the NHL? And I was more stunned that, number one, we didn't hear anything about it because it's Lou Lamoriello, and number two, that it was Lou Lamoriello to give him his second chance. But the more that I thought about it, the more it did make sense to me, just in terms of like, Lou's such a hard ass and will draw such a hard line in the sand between the split of like, you are coaching this team, you are not running this team, I am running this team. And that's kind of been what I think a lot of people have been expecting for Patrick Waugh to return to the NHL, because like he's been, I guess a big thing is he wants control. Like he wants control, a little bit of control over his roster. I think that was what soured his relationship with the Colorado Avalanche at the end of his first tenure, because people forget, I'm pretty sure he resigned. He was not fired as head coach of the Colorado Avalanche. He left, and I think that it was because of frustrations that he didn't have any team control over the roster.
Okay, so for people who don't know Patrick Waugh, it sounds ridiculous to say, but younger hockey fans, whatever, you might just know him as a coach. But obviously, you probably know that he's a prolific goaltender. But Hall of Fame goalie, one of like top 5 all-time goalie, Canadiens legend, forced his way out of there. It got messy. Went to the Avalanche when the Avalanche had moved from Quebec, and they won a cup with them. Absolute legend. Was junior coach turned NHL coach, came back to coach the Avalanche, was in a very non-analytics way a ridiculous coach in terms of, all right, we're down, there's 10 minutes left in the game, fuck it, pull the goalie. Like, would do a lot of things that these days you would associate with maybe this is an analytics-driven thing. No, he was just out of his fucking mind, and he won the Jack Adams in 2014 as the best coach in the NHL. Everybody loved him, and it was this new thing where, like, yes, he's a new coach. We haven't seen this type of style before, but it doesn't seem super information driven. It seems attitude and hunch driven.
Emotionally driven.
If you're to link him to like an NFL coach, he's probably more Dan Campbell in terms of where the fuck is this coming from than like a Brandon Staley of where the fuck is this coming from. And it was wild, and people wondered, is this going to burn out? Like how well can this flame like
Sustain.
stay lit?
Yeah.
And it didn't get like he didn't become horrible, but it just all kind of soured and he left. I think people envisioned he would have been there a much longer time than he was. I think he only coached 3 years there, and then he bounced. But really, once he left, I kind of thought of it as like a sort of fever dream. Like, hey, remember when Patrick Waugh fucking coached? Like, we joke all the time about Wayne Gretzky as a coach. Patrick Waugh should be the type that would not be a successful coach, because with any of the all-time greats, I always think it must be tough to communicate to players, hey, just go out there and be the best. That's how I did it. But he was a good coach. I think that this is a fun hire. It's an exciting
fun
hire for a team that the Islanders are typically not the sexiest of the New York teams. You got Buffalo, who's got the young stars. You got the Rangers, who's got the pizzazz and the, I was going to say asshole owner, but I didn't say that. So credit to me. What a guy. And then you got the Islanders, who had Tavares, he left, whatever. Like, you got star power now, and you got a fucking wild card.
That's my big take here, is that it seems so uncomfortable in terms of a match on paper, where like you can put the Lou Lamoriello and Patrick Waugh stuff to the side. Like, that's a side conversation where like those personalities seem like they're going to clash, and it seems like a ticking time bomb at some point, but it could catch a spark. But more so, like the Islanders to me have always had like an understated identity, and it's never been all that exciting. And like, that's not necessarily an inherent insult. Like, even in the Barry Trotz days, like they were a very good team, but they were understated. They were like a blue collar, not sexy, not over the top kind of production. They just did it quietly, and they were effective. There's nothing about Patrick Waugh that's understated. It is very in your face, very exciting, very like fireworks. And so I'm excited for perhaps like a identity shift for the Islanders, where they are this kind of exciting and explosive team, if that's Patrick Waugh's kind of effect on them. But also, it just looks so weird to see Patrick Waugh in the Islanders colors and in front of the Islanders logo. For some reason, my brain can't comprehend it, and I don't know how long it's going to take for me to associate Patrick Waugh with the Islanders.
I mean, if I could pick Patrick Waugh to coach any team, it would be the Canadiens. I would love for him to somehow go back there, kiss and make up, and just bring like a snarl and an attitude there. But he brings it there to the Metropolitan Division, and my prayer now, Islanders have fallen out of a playoff spot, but
2 points. They're not far out.
Yeah, no, like they're in it. They make this change because they're trying to make a run. My prayer is that we get a first round matchup of Patrick Waugh versus Torts. Two coaches who have seemingly tried to fight other coaches at various points. I don't know if they actually would fight, but I like that there would always be the possibility of, hey, one or two things go wrong, you get into a nice little rivalry, the teams don't like each other. At the very least, these two guys are going to swear at each other.
Yeah, and like those two teams are very gritty and like just sandpapery. A seven game matchup between those two teams and those two coaches would be very, very enticing. Yes, I agree.
That's
a good thing to. Like, even if you don't want those two teams in the playoffs, and I'm sure there probably are a lot of people that are like, ugh, these two teams don't move the needle for me. They're not very sexy. If you get those two teams pinned up against each other in the first round matchup, I think a lot of people are going to be interested in that.
That is we want the Flylanders series.
Flylanders, baby.
Apologies, Shawn, for my unprofessionalism. I'm just checking. Factor is our read today.
No, game time.
Game time. I was having a conversation with my Gumar recently, and she said, DJ, where are we going to get these tickets? And I said, don't you ever listen to me? And she said, of course I listen to you. And I said, well, we had this conversation recently. Game time. You, if memory serves, were the one who suggested it to me. And she said, yes, of course.
Mhm.
I'm being a terrible Gumar. I said, you're not being a terrible Gumar. This isn't a big deal. We're getting the tickets, though. That's what's important. And we're getting them thanks to Game Time. I was perusing Game Time today because I'm actually thinking of going to see the Boston Bruins play the Winnipeg Jets. That's just a good game. I could go on a credential, sit in the press box, but I kind of want to see the vibes. So I'm considering that. And if I go, God is my witness, I'll be doing it thanks to Game Time. It's a great, easy experience. I love the layout, both on the app and on the website. It's not all bunched up. Some of these ticket services, when you go and you try to find where's a good spot and you're trying to hover around, they're all bunched up on top of each other. You can't find a good ticket and you can't find the amount of tickets you want. Game Time might be, I don't know if it is, it could possibly be the only ticketing service where you get to choose how many tickets you want.
I think that's true.
That is a perk of Game Time that I like.
Anytime I've used any other ticket service, I don't have friends. So I usually go to games by myself. I got 4 tickets again.
They gave me 4 tickets, and what? And they charged me for what? 4 tickets.
It's crazy.
And they've got the fees. All that adds up.
Absolute scam.
With Game Time, you choose how many tickets you want. I guarantee it. Seriously.
Yeah, I know. I've tried.
So if I go by myself, if I bring Shawn, if I bring my Gumar, if I bring my wife, if I bring
both at the same time,
my wife, my Gumar, and Shawn, they all get along.
Okay.
Then Shawn, would you be into that?
Fucking right. Absolutely. Why not?
Shawn, and if I do that, here's what I do. I go to Game Time. I typed in how many tickets you want. 4. Easy. They don't ask you again. They say...
they might ask you again, but just to make sure that you're getting the right amount of tickets that you want.
They consider it done. The biggest hassle and problem with the ticket buying experience is made super easy with Game Time by their guaranteed... They give you as many tickets as you say that you want. There's I've spoken to a lot of listeners of the show, talk about, hey, I went on Game Time. None of them say only problem. I wanted 3 tickets. They gave me 12.
Come on, you got this.
They get the number right. So head over to Game Time on the app. Use code CHAOS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAOS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And the right number of tickets. I personally promise you. I don't know if Game Time probably promises that as well.
I would hope so.
They're very professional. I can't wait for this is going to happen. Listeners and devotees of the show are going to be like, I got exactly the number of tickets I wanted. We have to lean into that.
I do. I like that. Good spin. The All-Star Captains were announced over the weekend. We were waiting. We had discussed a couple months ago. We tried to guess who the captains were going to be for the draft in Toronto, and we got 3 out of the 4. Good for us. You see here, Austin Matthews paired up with Justin Bieber. That was the most predictable thing in the world
for the blue team. Let's throw in colors
I'm
as well.
sorry. Okay. For the white team, Connor McDavid matched up with, you guessed it, Will Arnett.
I like that when you said for the white team, Connor McDavid, Shawn started to lean into the mic, threw up both of his hands as if to say, I'm not going to do it. And then I said, Shawn just almost did it.
The race thing?
Yeah, I was going to make it about race.
Today on What Chaos? Politics and race.
For the white team at the NHL All-Star Game, all of them.
Yeah.
And then for the piss team...
I was going to say, be careful.
The piss team, Nathan McKinnon and Tate McRae. Tate McRae in the piss jersey. It's going to look incredible. And then for the red team, the Hughes brothers are paired up with Michael Bublé. And by the Hughes brothers, I mean Jack and Quinn. Sorry, Luke. Get out of here.
Can we do just a quick, keep this up, Shawn, and can we just do like a quick rankings of these groups and these pairings, considering the color of the jersey? I know that this is huge for you, Pete.
Yeah.
You wanted the McKinnon piss jersey.
Yes.
You're going to get it.
Guaranteed to the McKinnon piss jersey. That's the biggest news.
If they make I think for the set, I would get a McRae piss jersey.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have 2 piss jerseys on the
we do.
set. I am bummed that I want to get a Leon Draisaitl jersey. I don't love the white one as much as Shawn. You were very pro white jersey.
Very pro white.
That's not my favorite one. I wanted the red or the blue. I gotta say, I don't like the Hughes brothers and Bublé. Bublé seems like a very cool dude. I like the Hughes brothers, but for some reason the combination and all of it, I think that's the lamest one.
I would tend to agree. Yeah, I'm very, very thrilled at the Piss jersey, and if we're ranking the matchups, Nathan McKinnon paired up with Tate McRae has incredible potential to be super awkward, and I'm very excited about that.
Well, it's by far the coolest. I think that the Piss team is by far the coolest, and the blue team of Bieber, Matthews, it's got some you love to hate them kind of. You got some like those shits.
That's the most grab ass potential.
Yeah, the lamest one actually.
Oh, I mean, actually, the red team has a lot of grab ass potential.
Yeah, right.
Huge grab ass.
I'd like to update the lamest one actually by far is Will Arnett and
Connor
McDavid because
Will Arnett is going to try to do a lot of carrying, I feel like, and it's just not going to play.
Yeah.
I love Will Arnett. I do not like we discussed this when we were first guessing what the captains would be, and I said, of course, Will Arnett's going to be one of them.
Yeah.
I don't like that the NHL does the Will Arnett go be funny.
That's what I was supposed to say. He's like the comedian.
He's gonna try very hard,
yes.
And it's unfortunate that his partner has a very dry personality. So I don't know how much of his forced jokes are gonna land.
There's gonna be tons of Will Arnett making jokes, and then
Connor McDavid
kind of like awkwardly
laughing. Yeah,
yeah, 100%.
Although McDavid did make people laugh this weekend. He took a shot at Mark Spector.
Oh, did he? Again?
You see that? He said I'm waiting to see because the Oilers haven't been allowing goals. And he was like, I'm waiting to see the Mark Spector thing about how we're a great defensive team now. But
nice.
I guess I'm just gonna have to wait a little longer. And everyone's like, oh, he clapped back. Connor McDavid.
McDavid's a little spicy now, but I don't know if he's got like a riveting sense of humor anymore.
I'm gonna kind of tip our hand and go a little inside baseball. We don't usually do this, but the first person who has said thanks but no thanks to this show, other than actually that's not true. Like Rangers people aren't allowed to do this show.
They didn't say no thanks.
Their choice.
Or they didn't say thanks.
Right. But we asked if we could do something with Leon Draisaitl at the All-Star Game. The Oilers were like, hey, we checked with him. He's going to pass, which makes me love him 100 times more. Like I don't want Leon Draisaitl to want to do this show, but
that's what I said. You said in the group chat, and I was like, I would have been disappointed if Leon Draisaitl said that he wanted to do the show on the first attempt.
Right, we'll get him eventually, but I was like, McDavid then? Like, if he's not going to do it, like, is it like a lesser ask now for us to do McDavid? I'd like to sit down with McDavid.
Oh yeah,
give me any of the Oilers.
I famously already have.
Yes, you did.
But so he may not sit. Actually, he may not sit down with us because I made him look so bad the first time because I was jacked and he was very skinny and people made fun of him for that.
What came of that interview?
Nothing.
Yeah, does it like a picture?
Yeah, right. I don't even know what I did it for.
Didn't write it up.
I don't even know what I did it for at this point.
But I have to point this out. The pop culture crowd has notified me that some of the reaction to this announcement was that the NHL used a bad picture of Tate McRae. NHL chose a not great pic of Tate McRae. She should sue. And Tate McRae fans are like, why would you do her dirty or whatever? So I looked again at these pictures. I don't see how that's a bad picture or whatever. But my biggest takeaway was you look at all these pictures and the Tate McRae one is the one that you say, why'd they choose that one? Justin, what are you doing, bud?
I mean, that was the promo image for the jerseys.
I've seen that one a million times. I'm like, is that a cool picture of Justin Bieber? No.
I just think it makes more sense than maybe the one that they used of Tate McRae, especially considering every picture of Tate McRae that I've seen other than that one is her in hockey stuff in jerseys. So
that's what I was going to say. Like, Tate McRae doesn't fucking need to pander. She doesn't need to do every picture of Tate McRae is her doing some hockey shit.
Yeah.
Wearing a Stars jersey, wearing a Flames jersey, wearing the goalie pads, which they were a choice. Relax, everybody. I don't need to see Tate McRae. Like, Tate McRae is so about that life. She doesn't need to fucking play dress up again and do hockey stuff.
But there's so many pictures of her that already exist of her in hockey stuff. But like I looked at that and I wasn't like, oh, horrible picture. Is it the best picture of her? No, but like if that's the worst picture that you can find of Tate McRae, then she's doing.
Then she's
just
the most photogenic
fine.
person in the world.
And I don't think that you can sue somebody for choosing a bad photo of you.
I mean, the one that looks most like somebody had to pull the picture off Wikipedia was Michael Bublé.
Yeah, he's in black and white.
It's a headshot.
It's a headshot of him in black and white.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that outside of Bieber, who was obviously a picture taken for the NHL, the other three are clearly just pictures sent from like their people, like from the
There's
celebrities' people.
You could see that there's like a cropped out like snowflake from the Bublé thing. This is just like a billboard outside one of his Christmas shows.
It says Calvin Klein just to the right of it.
I wouldn't be surprised if any of the other three, other than Bieber, was just like that person's Wikipedia page picture.
Yeah.
Also with Tate McRae, like if you look, like a lot of her pictures, she's not wearing a lot of clothes, so it's not like you could just take any picture of Tate McRae. I think the NHL is probably a little choosy about stuff like that.
Yeah, pop star stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you think the NHL was like, you're not going out of the house dressed like that?
I mean, a little bit. They're definitely not going to put the picture of her with the pads on.
That to Marc-Andre Fleury. So
exactly, they're not going to put the picture of her with the pads and her wearing a bikini. Basically, like it limits the choices a little bit.
I am, as somebody who has not always understood, I saw a good tweet. I forget who it was from. I think it was actually from an All-City person. That was like, for people who are just like learning about who Tate McRae is now, her songs sound like they're made for children because she is very young. Mm-hmm. Like she's making stuff for people who it was basically like a lot of like, why you should back the fuck off of Tate McRae. And I agreed with every single point. They're like, some of her songs have grown on me. Some of the music videos, I've been like, this is very fast paced. And as an old man, I can't totally keep up with it, but I know it's not necessarily made for me. I enjoy basically everything that she has put out there. But I am also like a big, hey, if you don't get it, say you don't get it. Don't say it's stupid or that it sucks. I'm like a big gatekeeper of Tate McRae, even though I don't know, I'm like Tate McRae's target demo.
So I went to the Sugar Factory a couple weeks ago, and I would liken the experience of Tate McRae to the Sugar Factory because it's very pretty looking. It's very popular. But when I went there, I was a little bit stunned at the numbers that I saw on a page. I was a little bit stunned at how many offerings there were, and I did get a little bit of a headache from consuming the product. And I wouldn't say that it was the best thing that I'd ever consumed, and I probably am not going back there very often.
Maybe it was the chef or Ryan Tedder.
Correct, yeah. So it's just not for me. But if that's your scene, then I'm not going to judge. It's just I think that it's for a younger demographic.
Well, I'll tell you what, our demographic and our consumers, the whatnuts, are pounding the pavement, pounding the table. Nikita Khrushchev, they're taking off their shoes and banging the podium saying, get Tate McRae in person on What Chaos at the All-Star Game. We are efforting hard. Anyone who knows this show knows we have a very strong relationship with her people and her representatives. Mm-hmm. And we are trying to have a good time, keep vibes not lame, and get Tate on the program while in Toronto. We're efforting hard. But I'm mostly happy for you that you get to do the Nathan MacKinnon piss jersey.
Same. That's my biggest takeaway. I'm so excited that I get that one in the closet.
Okay. The biggest, is there any other All-Star stuff that is important that we need to hit there before we talk about the number one story in hockey? Really?
No, like they finished out the skills lineup, but if you care about that, you can go find it yourself.
Yeah. Check out NHL.com for any hockey stuff. The Oilers are at 13 wins, which is a Canadian record. They are, of our neighbors, the best ones. They're lending you some sugar because they are your neighbor.
Nice. Not bad.
They are at 13 wins. They beat the Flames 3-1 Saturday in their last road game before the All-Star break. There were two. This was basically the 3-game gauntlet of if they can get through this, then it is very feasible that they can finish off the pre-break run 1 win away from the NHL record of 16. Is it 16 or 17? 17 games, which was set by the 1993 Penguins. So they beat the Flames 3-1 Saturday. I need to point out they got a lucky bounce in the go-ahead goal that put them up 2-1. An under-discussed great fun thing about hockey. We always discuss the things that we like, the little moments that we like in the game. I've never mentioned how much I like a good empty net goal. This game featured a good empty net goal, like a hard-earned empty net goal, not just and obviously it's impressive if you throw it down the length of the ice because you're getting it past people and you're risking icing and all these things. But I'm talking about like you make a play to score an empty net goal. Did you see Zach Hyman's game sealer?
I did not.
Puck squirting down the ice, race to the puck in the Flame zone. He wins the race to the puck, has to fend a guy off, and he has the puck in the corner, fakes trying to go to the front of the net, and instead wraps around where there is a defender waiting that is like, don't you fucking try it. And he does it anyway. Classic Zach Hyman shit. Not afraid to stick his nose in the dirty areas.
Good luck keeping Zach Hyman from the front of the net.
Exactly. It was a beautiful goal. And I don't want to say shame, but like people kind of look at empty net goals of whatever.
I do.
When you look at Zach Hyman's goal total at the end of the year, like if that were the third goal for a hat trick, you would still give that hat trick a perfect score.
No, I wouldn't. But I would give it
extra consideration.
Yeah.
It was it's funny that for where the Oilers are in this win streak, they got a funny bounce in their second goal. I forget who scored the second goal for them, but it was like a behind the net, throw it off a body, hits a player, hits a stick, hits the back of the goalie, somehow is in. And that's how the Oilers end up winning that game with Zach Hyman sealing it.
But you have to have those sorts of things when you're on a 13-game win streak. Like those things have to go your way. You have to get some of the breaks. You obviously have to play good hockey, but you also have to get some of the breaks.
Well, Thursday, they came back from down 2-0 against the Kraken to win, which was very impressive. That was after they had come back from down 2 goals against the Leafs to win their 11th.
Not so impressive. Everybody's doing that.
A little more par for the course.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you guys I cleaned up on that?
Yeah.
Amazing. And that's also kind of like the norm, though, with the comebacks, because 8 of the Oilers' 13 wins in this streak have been come from behind victories.
8
insane.
Of the 13, 8 have been come from behind victories.
Insane for a team that historically finds ways to lose in interesting ways. The Oilers are doing this in a finds ways to win fashion.
Yeah, I mean, they're the most exciting team in hockey. We've been beating that drum for years at this point, but like no matter which way it's going for them, whether it's going positively, whether it's going negatively, they're always entertaining. And that number, like it does surprise me just in the sheer kind of absurdity and percentage of it. 8 out of 13, like that is a high percentage of comeback wins. But it's also not surprising in that, like, yeah, that is like anything isn't within the realm of possibility for the Edmonton Oilers, who, by the way, are adding Corey Perry to their roster as of Monday. It seems he is practicing with the Oilers. He is going to be officially on the roster some point very soon.
I was going to do we'll get to that in a couple of minutes thing, but I'm like, I don't even want to get to that. Let's just do it now. I hate that they are adding Corey Perry.
For what reason, though?
I don't hate Corey Perry. I think Liam McHugh summed it up perfectly, which is if it ain't broke, don't break it. And that, to me, is like, what can Corey Perry introduce other than, and I know that people are going to say like, oh, well, he clearly wasn't a veteran leader in Chicago. The off-ice thing with Corey Perry in Chicago is not the thing that it was rumored to be, obviously, and that has been refuted in all the right ways. That is not what happened. But even so, I think somebody who he doesn't bring bad vibes to a team. I think that like the reason the Blackhawks sought him out for like on ice purposes made sense to get like a kind of gruff veteran who can piss people off. The risk that the Blackhawks ran where if something weird happens off the ice, we can just kick him off the team, whatever, and he'll be an afterthought, which it kind of is what happens there.
Yeah.
I don't like introducing any sort of heavy variable, which is what Corey Perry is, to a team that I jokingly say, but maybe not jokingly, is like going to fucking win the President's Trophy.
I mean,
don't rock the boat.
Yeah, but like it's not rocking the boat to me. Like I don't see a scenario in which Corey Perry like hurts this team. Other than like maybe the early like figuring out where he slots in the lineup or whatever. Like I don't see him being like a locker room cancer or whatever. At this point, I assume that Corey Perry is very grateful to still be in the NHL. I assume that he's going to be on his best behavior because of that. He's going to be on a team that is a really strong contender, and especially when you're moving from the Chicago Blackhawks, where obviously he was probably happy to be considering how much money he was making, but like he is on a contender now, not on the Chicago Blackhawks. He will have a short leash. I think that like he is a valuable, like bottom line, bottom six kind of guy, especially during a playoff run. So I don't see him hurting the Oilers. Plus, like the Oilers have had a history of like this kind of move working out for them. Like the Evander Kane situation was the stocks on Evander Kane were so low when the Oilers took a chance on him, and he's turned out to be a pretty vital part of that team. Obviously, was at a different point in his career than Corey Perry is, and is playing a more significant role with the Oilers, but like that has worked out for them.
Yeah, I mean, the Evander Kane thing is a good comparison. As you said, different ages, different expectations for them. But like when they brought in Evander Kane, it wasn't like be a star top six player or whatever. It's like find your footing. Obviously, this is like a low risk, high reward thing. And the reward with them has been very high. And that's been like a found money sort of thing. I think there is the possibility that adding a big personality to something that is going so well, which Corey Perry undoubtedly is, not a bad personality, but adding a big personality could potentially rock the boat. And I really want them to get this record.
I'm more concerned about like the media around Corey Perry than I am about Corey Perry, because Edmonton's media landscape is psychotic. Mm-hmm. And like there's something in the water up there where they're crazy in the way that they cover that team and some of the takes that come out about that team. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on Corey Perry in the next week or so. Maybe that dies off pretty quickly. Who knows? We'll see. But I would be more concerned about like the bubble around Corey Perry than Perry himself.
It's going to be a weird comparison as I make it to Colin Kaepernick here. But I remember at the beginning of Colin Kaepernick's free agency when like he wanted a real contract and wanted to like have a chance to be the starting quarterback, somebody who covered the NFL noted that the reason teams stopped signing Tim Tebow was they're cool with a media circus and a media crush if it's a like top third of the roster player. And then like if it's a middle third of the roster player, it's like, well, if we can get him for cheap, maybe. And if it's a bottom of the roster player, it's like we're just not doing this. And Tim Tebow, once it was very clear, was like a bottom of the roster player. Just his career was over.
Just
and people
wasn't
stopped
worth
signing
it.
him.
Yeah.
And obviously, with the Colin Kaepernick thing, there was more, let's say, racism in play. But like with the Corey Perry thing,
This guy and his politics.
Yeah, politics and race. I apply that thing of like, is it worth the media crush for a player who's going to be a bottom,
I think
like a fourth line player?
But I think the media crush is going to end pretty quickly. Like if everything sticks
Gene's
to this,
got a long list of questions, man.
That's the kind of media crush that I want.
Yeah.
But like I think that if everything sticks to the script and Corey Perry doesn't rock the boat, like the media attention is not going to be. It's not going to sustain.
Well, let's talk about a more important player on the Oilers, and that would be Stu Skinner.
Oh,
the Oilers are defending better, yes, but there have been many points during this run where I've said it's a good thing they had that guy in net, and it's always Stu Skinner because Stu Skinner just fucking plays all the time. It is crazy, and he is playing very, very well. He is on a 10-game win streak. He has a .947 save percentage in that time, which is second best in the NHL. The only player better is Connor Hellebuck, who's at .950.
And he's the best.
And
he's literally the best goaltender in the world.
Literally the best. And literally the second best is Stu Skinner. Stu Skinner has the third best save percentage in January. Connor Hellebuck is second. I would like to pose the question to you lot. Who has the best save percentage in the month of January? This is open to both of you.
Alexander Georgiev.
No. I checked. He's second in wins.
The most wins.
He's second in wins in that time, and he has like an 897. You're going to get it.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
UPL.
Yeah,
really?
He had like 155 straight minutes of shutout hockey or something like that.
With a .955 save percentage, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has the best save percentage in the month of January.
Where was that in the first half of the season?
Skinner is playing to a Hellebuckian, Luukkonenian type of clip.
Quick side note: did you see the like Czech and Slovak fans that like Sabres fan group that was at the Sabres games over the last week? It was fucking awesome.
I bet.
Yeah.
And they were doing like soccer chants and stuff. There was like a group of like 15 of them. It was awesome. They have a really cool UPL chant. I just want to throw that out there.
If there's anything you should know about me, Pete knows this. I think Shawn knows about me. I've just got a thing for Czech hockey play, like Czech and Slovak players.
I do know
like,
that about you.
I love all those guys. They fucking rock.
I know that we said that we weren't going to talk about the Bills, but the Sabres were at the Bills game yesterday.
Yeah, it's their fault. I blame them.
Okay, I didn't even have to ask the question.
No, yeah. I mean, it's they shat the bed the day before against the Lightning, as you well know. And then Tomer was there and posting pictures, and I'm not happy about it.
I invited Shawn to watch the game with me. I knew that he wasn't going to. I knew that he was going to lock himself in a room and watch it, which is what he said he would do. But I ended up running into Linus Ullmark while watching the game, talking about some football. Shawn, for at least 2 minutes, was very happy to hear Ullmark is a Bills fan.
Yeah, and I told you to tell him to lock it the fuck in. I don't think he did because something went wrong somewhere.
So are you saying like you think I didn't tell him to, or you think
no,
that
I don't think
chose
he.
not?
I don't think he locked in. I think he was distracted. He didn't lock in.
This is a Linus Ullmark problem.
It is.
Yeah.
Is this like a little insider trading that like if Ullmark plays tonight against the Jets, to bet against the Jets because he's going to be a little distraught because the Bills lost?
Well, no, I mean not even that he'd be distraught. It's just that the Bills are losers, and now everyone that associates with the Bills, myself included, are losers. The city of Buffalo is a bunch of losers. Fireball, California, home of Josh Allen, losers. Basically, anyone that's associated with the Bills over the last 24 to 48 hours is losers. So, hammer the Jets.
So bad. I feel so bad for Buffalo fans, man. Like,
yeah, you should.
You can't even turn to the Sabres at this point.
It's the worst sports market in America, in North America.
No
fans have it worse.
Not.
No fans have it. No, it's not the worst market. No fans have it worse.
Oh, right.
Like,
I was going to say it's
miserable.
a great market.
Yeah, it's the best market, but it is the most miserable market in all of American sports.
I would feel so much better if I could at least give them like, at least you got like the Sabres, even if they weren't in a playoff position, if they were in the mix.
If this had happened last year, and you could definitely have been like, at least you have the Sabres.
Yeah.
They're moving in the right direction.
Right.
It's what Boston and Chicago used to be, except, and I say this with all love in my heart for for Buffalo, a place I've always loved visiting. Its living kind of matches the vibes of the sports experience.
Yes.
And obviously Boston and Chicago both get very cold. Chicago gets very hot in the summer, so there can be some like misery in that. But like Chicago is beautiful and Boston is beautiful, and Buffalo doesn't have the reputation of being super beautiful.
It can be.
And
it smells like Cheerios.
These fucking guys experience touches everything.
Buffalo is the most miserable experience in like imaginable. But if you say that this is the most miserable experience, like everyone in Buffalo thinks it's miserable, but if anyone outside of Buffalo says it's miserable, we will fucking murder you.
Well, same
So
like the thing
don't
with the
talk
Tate
about
McRae thing. Like
It's
we can
our
analyze
miserable.
Tate McRae, but if somebody's like, who's this chick they're putting with the hockey stuff? I'm like,
Yeah.
you stay away from her.
Yeah.
That's Tate fucking McRae. You put some respect on her name. The Oilers and Flames in this game ran back their Heritage Classic jerseys. You sent a text message that I strongly agreed with, which was they got to stop fucking, don't wear these things. And I personally think they look bad indoors. As I wear this indoors.
Specifically the Oilers one, because they wear like the vintage pants and the gloves where it's like supposed to look like the leather or whatever. Anytime a team does that inside, it looks a little goofy. I thought the same thing about the Dallas Stars when they wore their Winter Classic jerseys inside a couple times after the fact. Like, it just doesn't hit the same. You came up with that design specifically to match the like the throwback vibe of playing outside and going back to the roots and stuff. It doesn't hit the same inside. I think the Flames jerseys look fine, but my bigger thing is that like the Oilers and Flames regular jerseys are both top tier regular primary jerseys, and they look so good when they play each other that I just miss the traditional matchup, and I want the heritage matchup, the jersey matchup, to kind of like live as a unique experience between these two teams, and I think they're just running them back too often. I think they should just retire them.
It waters it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always do think it is a little lame when like the Bruins have done that too, where they're like we're gonna rock
does
these
water
in this
them down.
game. It's like I like when like this jersey to me is an event, and when we got it, we talked about. I say we bought it as a family. When I got it, we talked about like all it represented, and that it's McDavid Heritage Classic. Did he rush back from injury to play that game? Is this what ruined their season, or is it a turning point? We loved when these things first came out. Like, there's so much about this one jersey anyway that when I see it on a US January 20th game, and it's still like a rivalry game and everything,
Battle of
indoors,
Alberta.
it just looks a little stupid.
I
and
agree.
the old-timey pants kind of look, it looks so bad inside. Like it looks like a costume, and when you do it outside, costumes are dope. But when you do it inside at a regular game where like people are wearing t-shirts,
it's wearing a costume to a costume party versus wearing it to a regular party. You wear a good costume to a costume party, and people are like, that costume is sick. You wear a costume to a regular party, and they're like, what the fuck is this guy's deal?
why is he wearing a costume?
Yes.
2 notes. I love that you are wearing not only the jersey but also pants that are basically the same color as the pants they wear.
Yeah, that's true.
Have we ever? I know we talked about it off air. Have we ever talked about the fact that there's numbers on only one of the sleeves?
We've
Wait,
definitely
really?
talked about it off the air.
Yeah, because it's only on the left sleeve, and that is
what do they have, the patch on that sleeve
No.
normally?
no,
It's
Raw
just
dog.
it's
blank?
just on the left sleeve. Yep.
What?
We-
And
yeah,
I
Shawn-
double checked to make sure that's how they actually wore them,
That's
and it
so
is
weird.
It's the craziest thing ever.
Shawn, so we noticed it, and then Shawn and I frantically Googled it to be like, did we get a bad jersey?
Because you got
Fanatics
that from the
presence.
NHL store, so it's not. It's like if that had been a mess up, that would have been a kind of crazy mess up. It's not
Listen,
like you ordered
buddy,
it
you
from.
know who runs the NHL store?
Well, but the NHL
It is a Fanatics experience,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
what more Fanatics experience is there than getting a fucked up jersey?
Yeah, but like, in the one thing about the Fanatics is like there was a middleman. You've talked before about the nice man who works at the NHL store. Like, that's something he would have prevented from getting into your hands.
That guy definitely that guy like lives and breathes NHL store.
Yeah.
He would have noticed that for sure, and probably would have like personally stitched on an extra 97. But yeah, they're at 13, and their remaining schedule now before the break is home against the Blue Jackets. Have this memorized, hilarious.
Same.
Home against the Blue Jackets, with a break. Home against
the Chicago Blackhawks.
2 of the worst teams in the NHL,
Yep.
and then home against the Nashville Predators, which
Mid.
mid
Mhm.
should be able to win that. I think you've said that they'll lose to the Blackhawks or something.
Yeah.
I could see the Predators game being the one they kind of
I was going to say the Predators one's tough because a lot of guys I feel like are going to be, it's like the looking ahead to vacation kind of vibe.
That's the worst option of the three, obviously, because at least it's funny if they lose to the Blackhawks or they lose to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I've gone a little bit back and forth that, like, do I want to witness history? Do I want to see the greatest run in NHL history? Or do I want to see a very funny, like, short-term fumble?
Extremely Oilers
fumble. And I think I'm still definitely leaning that I want to see this run go as far as it can possibly go, especially with the Vegas Golden Knights game after the break. I think that could be an incredible game with history on the line.
And the chain watch is officially on.
That's true. We haven't even gotten to the chain. Later, we'll get to that in a little bit. But, like, if they lose to Columbus or preferably Chicago, I will have a good laugh, but I'll be a little disappointed.
Well, not only do they have this interesting run coming up, the Oilers put out, I guess, maybe a reminder. They probably revealed this at some point because they did their Indigenous celebration on November 13th. But they put out their logos for specific cultural celebration games. Okay. And some of them, really all four of them, are amazing. So I think that first, or that one on the left is South Asian celebration. The one on the right is Black History, which will be in February, obviously, against the Bruins. And then there's also the Lunar New Year one, which is my favorite of them.
That one is wild.
And then the one on the right, they've already done the Indigenous celebration. Which
all of those are fucking awesome.
All of those are so good. My favorite one is definitely Lunar New Year. South Asian one goes crazy. I love the Black History one.
South Asian one is like very Pokemon-esque to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a peacock. My only thing about the Black History one is I just wish it had more color. Like, and I understand why I don't think they made it black and brown because black people are brown, but I just like Africa specifically, there's a lot of color and like vibrancy in some of those cultures. So I would have liked to see a little more color.
Maybe like a green or something, or
yeah, exactly. And to be fair, all of these at least appear to have been created by people from those specific cultures. So I'm not gonna. It's not like Asia Loudon.
Those are just incredible designs.
Who made the Black History Month did anything wrong? But
so obviously we know because the NHL is not allowed to say like, hey, like Happy Lunar New Year between the puck drop and the end of the game. They can only do it in certain times because that's just a very not outrageous thing that the NHL does. I wish, obviously, that they had like specific jerseys for the games because, as we were just discussing with the Heritage Classic stuff, like these like one and done things are really cool. I wish that, like, for the Black History game, they had jerseys molded off that. But playing against the Bruins, that would have been a major, what is it, kit clash if the jerseys are too similar?
Mm-hmm.
Like a black and brown against a black and gold might be clashy. But I would honestly tell the Bruins then, like, wear something different.
Yeah. I don't know if you could, but I feel like any.
I think that they should make teams do. The team should have reserve. This is a Black History game, and the other team came up with something cool that looks like our thing. So now, like the Bruins, just wear like pink for that game or something.
I mean, I feel like the Bruins whites wouldn't have been.
Yeah, because the Bruins whites now are like very, very like plain.
Yeah,
but they're. Yeah, I think that's probably they could get away with just the whites, but yeah, I mean,
just the whites on the Black History game.
Cool. Well, really, just the whites on the Bruins, which
it's fair. No, I
draft T. Jaginla, cowards. You see
chaos bump.
You see he went off.
Unbelievable. He's a beast.
People are posting all this stuff of like this kid's going to be a problem. It was like,
well, he is nasty.
He's an NHL prospect, and his last name is Ginla.
He had a Hattie the other day that I was interested in because it was his third goal was an empty netter, but it was a very hard fought, like two guys rushing into the zone. They had to make a pass in their offensive zone type thing for him to get the goal. So I was like, that's a hard-earned empty netter.
Love a good hard-earned empty netter. They're back, man.
Shout out to Danton Heinen, first career hat trick over the weekend. I've become a huge Danton Heinen guy this year. He's just like a guy that makes all the right plays. Very, very smart, responsible player. Obviously, you're not expecting the like upper 20 kind of goals that he had that one year in Pittsburgh. But for like a guy that's on a like $1 million or like a league minimum contract this year as a very, very strong, responsible defensive, like bottom six player, dude, just a chef's kiss.
I was a big Danton Heinen guy. His first go around with the Bruins, that was when I was covering them, and he became the poster child of like, of course the Bruins have this lame like middle six type forward, and it's like, you had to have middle six forwards on your team. Like, why? What? It's a middle six. Like every group, you can't have 4 first lines. You don't want to have like a first line and then 3 fourth lines, so you cannot have a middle six. Like, what's wrong with you? Danton Heinen is a fine guy to have, and at Denver, he was awesome. He's like a really good scorer. So like, he does have a history of scoring goals, as you said. He does make the right plays.
He's never gonna like wow you. He's not a spectacular
not a power
player.
forward and not a game breaker, but sorry, you don't have 20 all-stars on your team.
He's essentially like a litmus test in terms of like how close of attention do you pay and how much do you understand? Like, what are your thoughts on Dan Heinen? And if anybody's like, that guy fucking sucks, then I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to listen to anything you say because you clearly don't pay that close attention, or you just like the sexy guys.
Shawn, did you or anyone in your area, because you were, I liked that you were in the balcony for this. How were the vibes up there? And B, did you throw your hat?
I wasn't wearing a hat. People were throwing hats from the third level and then having them thrown by the people that they landed on in the 100s onto the ice. The vibes up there in general were pretty awesome. I mean, as with any hockey game, and I feel like once you get up to the 300s and you're with more of the commoners, you have a lot of people who just don't really understand the sport of hockey and are just yelling things that don't make a whole lot of sense.
But that could be fun.
We got that.
But
we got that like fifth row at the
Exactly.
Sabres game, and that was not.
It is
enjoyable.
I mean, like I'm definitely I'm the kind of fan who tends to be very realistic. So like when there's a penalty that was like quite obviously a penalty, and everyone's like, "Where's the penalty?" I was like, it's kind of right there. But I mean, it was awesome. Like it was very interesting being in such a heated rivalry as a neutral observer.
300s Saturday night, 9 goals against the Montreal Canadiens.
It was a
I'm
miracle
so
that it
jealous.
was it was just as easy of an experience as it was. I forgot to bring this up on the way out. I ran into one of my friends who I showed up to the game late because I got the ticket late, so I did not get the pennant that they handed out to people who showed up. And
that was a good one. I saw that.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. But my friend was like, "Do you want it?" And I was like, "No, I don't like this hockey team." And some guy was like, "What do you mean you don't like this hockey team?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a Sabres fan." And he just chuckled. He's like, "Fuck you." I was like, "Yeah, I get that." Yeah. And it was pretty fun. I can't lie.
That's
Hell yeah.
amazing. I when I was in college, I took some friends to a Bruins Canadiens game, and one of the friends was a Canadiens fan. And granted, like he was wearing a Canadiens jersey. This was like 2006-07, and I was like embarrassed because it was like we were in the 300s. I was embarrassed to be a Bostonian because they were so horrible to my friend and saying things that we definitely don't say anymore. And
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The only real interaction I saw between Canadians and Bruins fans is like there was at one point I was walking through the concourse and it was pretty crowded, and like 4 or 5 Canadians fans just walked past these couple of Bruins fans, and the Bruins fan was just like, 1 red jersey, 2 red jerseys, 3 red jerseys. And I was just like, all right. It was definitely
this
like
man was his name the Count.
yeah, basically.
And
I
he
feel
kept
like
saying what's that about?
a 1, a 2. I just feel like in general Bruins fans were just like these these fucking Canadiens.
Well,
like, they're
I mean,
not
at the
good.
moment,
So I do think that's
Bruins
where it's-
fans have like a strong upper hand.
Exactly.
on the
So it was
Canadiens.
more of just like there was no hatred really.
Yeah.
It was
And
just
like
pity.
I said, but like when I went like 15 years ago or whatever, I was embarrassed with like the behavior of Bruins fans. Maybe this is naive. I don't think it would be like that today. Like
no,
they definitely.
I mean,
so
yeah.
like they would do the like ole
yeah, which I
chant.
respect the hell.
Bruins fans back then, and this would happen anywhere. So I'm not just like shitting on Bruins fans, but they would chant like "You're gay, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay."
Oh
which,
yeah, no, it was just Olays this time. I will say like it's the Canadian. Like it just was not like the Bruins fans were just there having fun. Like there was no like anger. Even after the first period, where it was a much closer game than you thought it should have been. I think a lot of Bruins fans were like, "Oh, these Bruins showed up today."
that's where like Brendan Gallagher can't do it all himself. Like they need. I think we've talked about this. Like there needs to be like whatever the Bruins version of Cutter Gauthier, it needs to be on the Canadiens.
Yeah,
there needs to be
not
somebody
an
who
asshole,
like you are universally allowed to hate, and even with like
They should have signed Corey Parrott.
so yeah.
already had him.
Yeah, I guess that's
Like
true.
Subban
What team hasn't at this
for
point?
a while was that, but like every Bruins fan like kind of loved Subban,
They love to hate him.
right? Like they were they appreciated that like it's a good thing.
Yeah,
The like loudmouth NHL player is on the Canadiens.
love to hate him or hated to love him. You know,
Yeah.
It's-
He was like
it
it's
went
a
both
Jeter,
ways.
a Derek Jeter-esque character. Where like at least for me, growing up a Red Sox fan, I fucking loved Derek Jeter. 'Cause
Yeah,
he
but,
We
was
all
like,
love Bernie
Jeter
Williams.
was like you had to
Respectful.
respect him
Yeah,
and very
yeah.
respectful.
So
I
like
mean,
we needed like an A-Rod.
an A-Rod,
yeah,
I should note, by the way, I was at the Celtics game maybe last week, and I looked in courts. I was like, I can't totally see who that is, but that person I could just tell by the way they were sitting.
Was it a Timberwolves
I
game?
was just yeah,
he part
right.
of partial
but he was
owner.
just sitting there, and I was like, that I know that I can't see that person's face, but I am positive that person is Alex Rodriguez. And then later, like they showed him on the jumbotron, and people like were cheering and stuff. And
But
I
they
was
were
like,
cheering.
I
Well, I was
cannot
gonna say.
believe that. Like if I were in a coma in 2004 or 5, whatever, and woke up now, like it is insane that he was there. That once I noticed, I was like, "That's A-Rod," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Isn't it crazy that he's here without security?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
And not only that, like
And
they
like-
showed A-Rod, and everyone's like, "Hey,
That-
cool, celebrities here."
that's crazy.
that is. I would have booed.
Yeah,
And also, like I don't know,
No,
he kind of got his girl stolen by
Right, so I
famous Bostonian. Like I feel like he's pretty anti-Boston through and through.
No, I mean, I think that A-Rod's media kind of resurgency
Glow up.
and like rehabilitation in terms of a public image has been incredible.
top
Agreed.
tier.
It's been incredible and
Agreed.
like almost unfathomable because he was such a villain in his final days in
Yeah.
baseball. And like everybody hated him, including Yankees fans. They were just so fucking sick of that guy.
He was, pardon my French, I don't use this word as a noun, but I'm saying like collectively considered in like 04 or 5 or whatever. Like he was known as like a quote unquote bitch. He was
Yeah.
known as a quote unquote rat
Mm-hmm.
for
Cheater.
like, potentially like diming out his teammates. A cheater, like all of the things
A
that
fraud.
in those days you don't want ascribed to you.
Yeah.
Like these days, if somebody's like, "Hey, you hear about DJ? That guy's a bitch." People be like, "Well, what are you saying?" Like with
Yeah.
that could be saying more about you. Like this
Yeah.
DJ actually sounds like a good guy. But like all the things that you could have said about you in his playing career were, and now everyone's like, I'd probably rather hang out with A-Rod than Jeter.
Yeah, for
Wild.
sure. By a wide
I would
margin.
rather hang out with Jeter because that means I'm probably also hanging out with Michael Jordan because I feel like the only time I ever see Derek Jeter in public now is with Michael Jordan.
Last thing before we spin the wheel, we do have to talk about how Seth Jones called game.
Yes.
He scored his first goal of the season. We had obviously discussed with him, are you going to hit the Heffernan when you score a goal? This was early in the season. He joked as if to suggest, like, when am I going to score a goal? Last week, we discussed no excuses for Seth Jones to not be scoring goals. Wanted him to score in overtime when you were at the game. We were even joking, saying, like, how funny would it be if Seth Jones called game? He didn't do it. And then the next overtime game
I know.
the Blackhawks had, he did it. They won against the Islanders, fired Lane Lambert, many of us think, and did not hit the Heffernan, but I did rewatch the replay a lot to see, like, did he maybe kind of sort of do it? He didn't.
There was a suggestion I saw on Twitter that somebody was like, he may have done it because they cut to him and he's like doing like a kind of awkward thing and his hands are like out of frame. Did not hit the hef.
I don't think he did.
As reported, boots on the scene. Our friend Jay from CHGO said he did not hit the hef. Very, very disappointing, but I am happy for Seth Jones, even though I'm a little upset that he couldn't have done it one game earlier. If I had seen Seth Jones's first goal of the season in overtime, I would have lost my fucking shit. And so I'm a little upset about him, but I am very happy that he is on the board. Do also have to point out the Chaos Chain has once again changed hands because the Pittsburgh Penguins did not win a single game holding the Chaos Chain, which is very bad news for Shawn because he could have picked up several other teams. Instead, it goes straight to the Vegas Golden Knights. They play tonight against the New Jersey Devils, so there's no implications in terms of our ownership, but the Chaos Chain is on the line. The bet has been placed, so let's get to the wheel.
Well, I just want to say, as I tweeted to you and said earlier, happy sacrifice for the potential of a incredibly historic Oilers Golden Knights game.
And DJ does hold the Oilers.
That's right.
If it gets to that point, and
far-reaching implications.
There you go.
I have to lastly note with the Oilers thing, the Blue Jackets game does have meaning because the Blue Jackets have the second longest winning streak in NHL history with 16 games. So maybe Mo and the boys are going to be kind of galvanizing around this.
It is truly incredible that the Columbus Blue Jackets won 16 games in a row at any point.
Post Rick Nash, I believe.
Yeah, it was under John Tortorella, 2016.
Yeah.
Like, that is unbelievable that happened. And I think a lot of people blacked it out because I saw like responses to the graphic that was posted, and people were like, when the hell did the Columbus Blue Jackets? I refuse to believe that they won this many games in a row at any point.
I'd meant to ask you that bit of trivia last week to see if you guys would have gotten it. And I don't say this disparagingly. You guys wouldn't have gotten
Probably
it.
not.
I wouldn't have gotten it.
No.
For sure. I didn't remember that at all. All right. Let's spin the wheel. Let's start with Pete. Spin that wheel for Dave. Spin that wheel for Pete. Spin it. Look at that updated wheel. Good job, Shawn. Say something about the Isle boys.
The New York Islanders hot in the news. I did watch a bit of our friend Patrick Waugh's debut game. Don't have much to say about like his coaching style or whatever, but I do have something to say about Noah Dobson, because Noah Dobson on the blue line absolutely rocks. I feel like he's having a bit of a breakout year this year. He's just like a really incredible facilitator from the point. So great shot. Absolutely booming clapper in his tool belt, but also he is awesome at finding guys on the doorstep. So love some Noah Dobson, and I'm happy that he's kind of hitting a next level this year.
Okay, spin that wheel for Dave. Spin that wheel for me.
Hey, the San Jose Sharks.
The San Jose Sharks. What can be said about the San Jose Sharks? I believe that the San Jose Sharks will make a trade, and I'm not reporting anything, but I think that a lot of people in the NHL I think there's like a buzz, and I think that there's discussions and a belief that the Sharks and that organization is deep in or considering or fielding offers on and considering and discussing and putting together potential proposals, and that come trade season, I think that the Sharks are a team whose name you're going to hear. Spin that wheel for Shawn. Now spin that wheel for me.
What a filibuster.
It was a report. No, it was a report. That was a report. Say something about the Senators.
Well, I do have something to say about the Senators. This one goes out to former Arizona Coyote, Jacob Chychrun. If you've paid attention to Jacob Chychrun's career path, he was obviously drafted by the Coyotes, was pretty good for them at first, and then his relationship soured with the Arizona Coyotes. He demanded his way out. It was a very weird situation in Arizona, and he's like, I want to go home, until he got traded to Ottawa. And now he apparently does not enjoy his time in Ottawa, and it obviously has not gone very well to Ottawa. So all I would say is at some point you have to look at the common denominator. Also, Jacob Chikrin, very weird diet. He eats a lot of raw, uncooked meats.
I did know that about him.
Very, very odd. Also, Ottawa, move your arena into Ottawa, please.
Also, Shane Pinto made his return.
Shane Pinto did make his return, and you revealed details to me that I had not known about the situation, about his friends.
Oh, it was me.
But you, yeah. Very sad. Feel very bad for Shane Pinto.
I believe that was the case, that his friends were making bets through his account, and he ended up having to pay the price for it.
The old my account was hacked.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think it actually was.
I believe that Tyler Seguin maybe played that card. I think of my friends were tweeting, my friends grabbed my phone and tweeted something. I can't remember. This was a million years ago.
Also, can we bring back the division names? It's more fun. I was just thinking about how I want the Sabres and the Senators and the Leafs and the Bruins to all be good at the same time. It was fun, and I just want the Adams division to exist. It was more fun than the Met and the Atlantic and all that.
Yeah,
it's just, I feel like it's an unnecessary barrier of entry for new fans.
It definitely is. It's very unnecessary. I was
the
also
NHL
hoping
loves
that I was
making stuff more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah,
and that's 100%. One of the things that I would just not necessary.
Okay, best game of the night this evening is the Jets against the Boston Bruins. It could be a Stanley Cup final preview, many are saying, but it's not going to be because the Oilers are going to win the President's Trophy. I did crunch some numbers on could the Oilers actually? It would be hilarious if the Oilers won the President's Trophy. There's absolutely no way they would.
I mean, if they win the rest of their games, and at this rate, they're not slowing down. What if the Oilers ran the table?
Then
what if we should? That
Chris
should have been our
Knobloch,
discussion on
Jack
this episode.
Adams, maybe
that should have been our discussion on this episode. Are the Oilers going to run the table?
Yeah,
let's take a look at the rest of the schedule. And we go blow by blow.
Have Shawn put together the full screen of their upcoming 5 games or whatever to set the record, and then be like,
okay,
all right,
going.
and then next it's like this, and then after the Ducks.
I was gonna bring this up when you were talking about this week earlier. Would it be funnier if they lost to one of these bad teams that they have to play and then just sucked from then on, or if they did it and then immediately went on another 10-15 game win streak? And so it was just the loss to Chicago that stopped them from being the greatest team in NHL history.
No, I'm always on the train of I want the Oilers to be on a absolute heater or a wild skid that they can't get back control of.
For an upcoming,
nowhere in between.
For an upcoming show, we should look at the rest of their schedule and set an over-under for losses the rest of the season for the Oilers, because I think that we could come up with a fun number there, and I think that we could maybe track it, maybe work its way into the chain. Sounds like something that could possibly happen.
Yeah, let's make it more complicated.
It's a good little stipulation we can add in.
How can we tie tonight's game to the Oilers?
Yeah, fair.
How can the Oilers winning or losing affect the chain, even if they are not playing the chain holder or holding the chain?
I mean, tonight the Oilers aren't even playing, so I'm all about this idea.
The Oilers should just have the chain now. It should just give them, just say fuck it. Give
New
the Oilers
rule
the chain.
of the chain. The Oilers get it no matter what.
How about this? Every time the Oilers win 5 games in a row, they get the chain. So poor, I don't know, the Rangers.
No, Vegas has the chain now. They go on a 20-game win streak, but the Oilers lose to the Blackhawks, and then they win 5 straight games, and it's sorry Vegas, I know you haven't lost since January, but it's Edmonton's now.
That would be such a funny stipulation.
I think, yes, every time the Oilers win 5 games in a row, they get that, but it's starting now, so they would have to. I mean, if they break the record, they deserve to get the chain, and they would lose it right away.
Oh, also, Stacy brought up something in the chat I didn't even think about. Corey Perry has to play Chicago almost right away.
Yeah,
if he plays.
I wonder if they would put him in the lineup.
Oh, that's also a fair point.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the Perry thing. Look, nothing personal against the guy, and I know that he, I believe, has gotten help, and I wanted to be better and everything. I would have liked if he went to a different team. I'm happy for him that he's back in the league. I hope it doesn't rock the boat.
I like it in terms of the Oilers are so interesting that it just give me another reason to watch the Oilers.
Yeah, but you couldn't have gotten a fun, crazy goalie. They couldn't have hired Patrick Waugh to be their backup goalie. That would have been cooler.
You never know. Things might go south in the island.
Yes, in the island. Tomorrow, I believe. Tomorrow, are we doing that guest?
Yeah, we sure are.
Tomorrow, Seth Jarvis on the show. And it's a good one because Seth Jarvis is a very fun guy, and we discuss a lot of things with him in a wide-ranging conversation. It's going to be a good one. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends to subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on all the socials. I think we're almost at a nice number on Instagram. We'd like to get there and beyond. So leave every good review you can and hit that S button. Love you. Talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.